Curfews and lockdowns, are they legal? Can the government limit our freedom of movement? Hi, I'm Jackie from Thinkilustrate, where we help you understand technical issues through illustrations. Many of us have been wondering, does the government really have a right to put us under curfew and lockdown during the corona pandemic? In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the limitation of human rights and fundamental freedoms, when it's okay and under what circumstances it can be justified. We'll also do a feature episode where we look at which rights cannot be limited or restricted no matter what, and what you can do if you spot an injustice or if your rights are violated in any way. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoy. Hi.
What are human rights and where do they come from?
Thanks for asking. Human rights are those entitlements that belong to every person in the world, regardless of race, sex, gender, size, religion, creed, and many more. They are not given to you by the state, rather, they come to you simply because you're human. They are universally recognized under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and here in Kenya, they have been listed under Chapter 4 of our Constitution.
So, rights are important, but they can still be limited?
Yes, they can be limited, but there must be a good reason for it. For example, if you're in prison, obviously your freedom of movement is limited, right? And that's because people who have been tried and convicted have to repay their debt to society. And one of the ways we do that is through imprisonment. But a more relevant example is the curfew and lockdown that we are under right now. And the reason that we are under those restrictions is to preserve the public health.
Really? And how can you tell if the government is overstepping?
Article 24 of our Constitution gives us a list of things to look out for, just to make sure that limitation of any right does not lead to an injustice. And these are: 1. Which right is being limited? We have to consider the nature of the right or fundamental freedom. Some rights are absolute and cannot be suspended or restricted even in a state of emergency. We'll see them in the next episode. 2. Why is the right being limited? There has to be a good reason that is justifiable by law. For example, the curfew and lockdown were introduced to preserve the public health. 3. The nature and extent of the limitation. Curfews cannot be imposed indefinitely as they are limited by the Public Order Act. 4. Have you heard of this saying, your right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins? Well, that means I cannot enjoy my rights in a way that limits another person's ability to enjoy theirs. And finally, 5. Is there a relation between the limitation and its purpose? Could that purpose be achieved in a less restrictive way? For example, we've had media reports of people suffering under quarantine. Is there a different way of handling it without violating the rights of those under quarantine? So, what do you think? Was the government justified in limiting our freedom of movement and freedom of association during the corona pandemic? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So that's it for today's episode, but it's not over yet. As promised, we're doing a follow-up episode where we look at those rights that cannot be limited no matter what, and also where you can find help if you spot an injustice. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.